Hi everyone, welcome back to the Mentors Connect podcast. Today, very excited to have Jeremy Rosen on the podcast. We're going to be discussing many different topics from how he founded his business, TAXIBOX, to the future of startups, the future of business. And for all you young aspiring entrepreneurs, really encourage you to listen until the end to be able to hear a piece of advice from Jeremy himself. Thank you all for coming along. And before we get started and meet Jeremy, please make sure to smash the like button and subscribe to the Mentors Connect podcast and share this with all your friends. Today, very excited to have Jeremy on, who you probably have seen his business, at least the product, around on the street. It's a big yellow box, and yes, he is the co-founder of TAXIBOX. And really, it's a company which has really challenged the storage industry and those big players, and I'm really excited to have him on today. So thank you, Jeremy, for coming on.
Thanks, Chloe. I'm excited to be here, and as I said to you before, well done for starting this up. So excited to be here.
Thank you. So I was hoping if you could give our listeners a bit of your background, perhaps how you got into this startup and now 10 years on, this big business.
Sure. Background is, so I went to school, obviously, went to uni. I studied commerce law. I don't know if you want to go back to quite that far, but studied commerce and law. Came out of commerce and law and I went into corporate finance for a few years. And that was a really good experience. Just gave me a really deep and big appreciation for different sorts of businesses. So I got to see all sorts of businesses ranging from coal mines to, CC Amatil, which was a drinks business, through to tech businesses, through to insurance businesses, saw a lot of things. And that was for about 3-4 years. And then, I was talking to a friend of mine, and we both agreed that we'd like to start a business, and we sort of started looking at a whole bunch of things. So, we looked at random things from like candle manufacturing businesses to flooring businesses to importing businesses to all sorts of things. And then along the way, we happened to see this one, which was TAXIBOX, and we thought it made a lot of sense. And we could see that no one really in Australia had sort of done it before. And we thought we'd give it a crack. So that's my background.
No, and now, like TAXIBOX, you started in 2010, correct?
Yeah, starting in 2010, correct.
And now you've grown to, guys, just to riddle off some of the achievements. They now have 70 plus staff, have facilities in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, and the Gold Coast, have over 30,000 meters squared under roof of their storage, and they have lots of different areas where they have their storage boxes, like trendy areas in Melbourne, like Prahran and St Kilda. I know personally from driving around. But obviously he has a wealth of knowledge starting a startup and actually succeeding 10 years on. So I have a few questions that I have for Jeremy, and this is related a lot to the future. And I think this will be very good insights for everyone listening. And firstly, I want to get started. So obviously you've made it, you've seen great success. You've really gone into an industry which was dominated by a few big players. And what I'm curious about is, you've been innovative, created a new concept. Are we in the future going to see more innovative startups, with their new ideas, their new concepts, and being able to quickly process it and make it into something real? Is this going to be something we see in startups actually start to overtake these big players like TAXIBOX has done?
It's a great question. It's a big question, Chloe, so I'll try and answer it. I'm not sure that I'm particularly qualified to answer the question, but I'll give you my personal view. So what I mean by that is, just my thoughts is, I think that, yes, we will see more startups. I think people are, creative, and there's more information around, there's more people around. People are always looking at what they can do better. And with, some of the big changes in our lives, like the internet and various things, technology, we'll keep seeing more and more startups. There's huge investment, obviously. There's lots of things like this, Chloe, that you're doing, and so there's a real buzz kind of around the industry. So I think the answer that I'll give is yes, we'll see more startups. I think the second part of your question was whether what the effect of these startups are. I mean, I think that as good as some of these startups are, they'll coexist with some of the incumbents. So people will like the startups for what they are. People will also like what the incumbents have to offer, and there's a reason why those incumbents exist.
Okay, awesome. So now next question, what role do you think young people will play in, startups now gaining more notoriety and more power than these big industries that already have big players, like maybe either as entrepreneurs themselves or consumers?
Yep. I think, there's something really beautiful about being young, which is, and like I say, this is, I'm 38, I think now, 38, yeah. So I don't consider myself that old, but there's something, like, even when I think back on our journey when I was younger, there's something really beautiful about not actually knowing everything. And what I mean by that is you can come to problems with a completely clean ideas, and you can come with a real sense of creativity, because you don't necessarily know what the current solution is for things. So I think in that respect, young people have a massive role to play in this, and they'll keep driving these things. Not to say that older people can't do this stuff, but in some ways, there's advantages and disadvantages. There's that's a real advantage for younger people, and then there's some experience. And even through our journey, we've really lent on, we've had an advisory board from pretty early on. We've really lent on people with experience who have been a massive help to our business. That's on the business side. And then on the consumer side, I think definitely people's preferences are changing. So, I see this all the time, but I think younger people typically are looking for a more authentic experience and looking to engage more deeply with brands. And so I think that they will continue to drive the adoption of new age businesses like ours. And we really put some emphasis on this sort of stuff. That kind of did things a bit differently, that were actually, I know we're a storage business, and people would say, oh, storage boring, but did things in a bit more of an exciting way. And actually engage with the customer. So I think on both fronts, both from the business side and the consumer side, it's an exciting space.
And also smart calling it TAXIBOX. Everyone knows taxis, and you made it bright colors, easy to see. So 100%, you've definitely applied all of the things you've been saying. So now
one story, I was going to say one story if I can, Chloe. We actually almost called the business Pink Elephant Box.
What? What?
Yeah, so we always called the business Pink Elephant Box, and the idea, like, Ben and I, so Ben was my business partner, or is my business partner still, we were sitting around in a hostel in China because we did a fair bit of importing and throughout the journey, and we were coming up with names. We wanted to be creative, wanted to be loud, we wanted to be sort of exciting, wanted to be differentiated from the existing self-storage players. So that was pretty high on the list up until probably when it wasn't. And it would have been for a very different sort of marketing play if it had been pink storage units around people's driveways and homes and offices. But I'm glad that we changed the name to TAXIBOX.
Imagine that, having bright pink boxes everywhere. Be able to see it from a helicopter.
Yeah, they're pretty bright and colourful as it is in yellow, but that would have been a different direction.
But no, that's a cool story. Thanks for sharing that. So now, continuing on, this kind of linking back to all of our questions before, but are we going to see larger business adopt the startup process? Like, startups are quite known for not having a hierarchy, being able to work through the process quicker of getting a product out there. Do you think we're going to see that more in these large businesses?
I think they'll try. Because I think the startup space is so exciting, and I think that just to even engage with their employees want this sort of feeling around what they're doing. I think they want to feel engaged. So I think they'll try, but I do think that being a corporate business is incredibly different from a startup, and I think they both need different things. And so even in TAXIBOX's journey, when we were 1 year old, when it was just Ben and I, and we were on the forklift and answering the phone in different voices to try and sound bigger, to year 3, to year 5, to year 10. It was a very different journey. So year 3, we might have had, sort of 3 or 4 staff, and we just didn't really, we were just learning about how to work with staff. And then year 5, it was, more processes, and we had a better idea. Year 10, we had actually proper leadership team in place. So we had, sort of people other than Ben and I who were leading the business, which, took a while to get there. And so our processes and the way we did things, grew and grew in complexity. And the reason for that was because as the business expands, we just need more systems and hierarchy in place. So I think with the corporates, whilst they might try to have sort of, I've seen lots of businesses, lots of corporates, they have like a team where they call them a startup within the overall business, but their processes and their hierarchy exists because they need that to be a larger business. I don't see that sort of stopping.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So that's good. Thank you for that. So now continuing on. So obviously, Jeremy, you succeeded, but unfortunately, a lot of entrepreneurs don't. And that's something that can be quite scary. And, with COVID-19, there having been a lot of uncertainty in particularly small business, well, in the small businesses and for these people. Do you think going forward, we're going to see people perhaps hold back from pursuing that dream to get into entrepreneurship, to start their own business and just, play it safe?
I think on this question, I think, reading the news, there's all this talk about the great resignation and the great realignment. And I think what COVID-19 has done is resulted in people thinking about their lives, thinking about what they want to do. And again, I think it comes back to people want to be engaged, people want to feel like they're making a difference, all that sort of stuff. And you can really do that in a startup. So if I was a betting man, and again, I'm not sure I'm super qualified to answer this question, but if I was a betting man, I'd say actually that COVID-19 will bring about more startups. I think the more that things are not stable results in more disruption, people thinking more about their lives and ideas and all that sort of stuff. So that would be my guess.
And I guess that makes sense, as people perhaps think, we only have so much time, let's pursue our dreams and just go for it.
Absolutely, and the people really want to have meaning and engagement, as I said. So yeah, I agree.
So it's been great hearing your insights, and I have one final question for you, Jeremy, and that is, I was hoping you could give a piece of advice for perhaps a young listener who is thinking about being an entrepreneur. I think you're a pretty good person to answer this.
So no, I appreciate this question. I'll say something which was told to me years and years ago. So I think the one piece of advice I'd give is just to surround yourself with good people. I think someone said this to me, that the top 5 people that you interact with on a daily basis, and in my sort of life, I interact with my wife, so I'll give her a shout out. I interacted a lot with Ben, my business partner, and a few other key people. But those key people, they're all super intelligent, and they challenge me in different ways, and they're different from me, and they give me different perspectives. So I think that would be my I'll use the piece of advice given to me, and that would be it, just to surround yourself with really good people.
No, that's amazing. Thank you so much for that, Jeremy. And it was great talking to you. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your insights with myself and all the listeners.
Absolute pleasure, and also well done again for starting with this platform. Super impressive.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for listening, and make sure you tune in for our next episode, and obviously like this episode and send a lot of love to Jeremy. Bye.
Thanks, Claire. Cheers.